Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Today is the day two of Microsoft Azure Certification Bootcamp, hosted by Azure Community Dehradun. Guys, today we have Devansh with us. Devansh is an upcoming SD for Salesforce uh, as well as for I think Dell.
Dell.
Dell. So, hi Devansh, how are you?
Hi.
Okay,
Hi,
so
Sarthak. I'm fine. How
ha,
are you?
great. I am too great. So before starting this session, I would like to know about that. Is there any doubt remaining of yesterday's session? So we can take that. Okay. So hello. Here lots of hellos. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, DQ. University. We all are from university, guys, and will soon enter in the corporate world in next 2 months. Hello. Good evening. So, hello everyone, and I think that no doubts. So, I think Devansh, you can start and continue with your session. Okay, you can share the PPT so that I can present over here. Hello. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so
Thank you,
guys,
Sarthak.
exactly. So in this session, I will also share a link, feedback link, which is also considered as a live attendance. Okay, after that link, what we can do is, okay, you can share all your feedback, how your feedback is, and today, according to the yesterday feedback, we have taken, we try to modify some things. So yes, Devansh, I think now screen is over. Yes, Devansh, you are good
Okay.
to go.
Okay. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. How are you all? Before starting this session, I want to welcome you all to the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals AZ-900 Bootcamp. Today is the day two of our bootcamp, and yesterday Kshitij ended it by discussing about virtual machine and how it is actually created using Microsoft Azure portal, and what are the basic concepts regarding cloud computing, platform as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service. All these concepts were covered. So uh, today we will starting where Kshitij ended yesterday, and today we are going to cover few of these concepts. But before I start this session, I want to tell you all something, that this bootcamp is specifically for AZ 900 fundamentals exam, and for this exam Microsoft do not expect you to be very much aware of hands-on practice on Azure portal. All you need to know is the basic concepts, basic terms which are used in Microsoft Azure, be it services, be it solutions. All these things you should know, but since it is a very basic level exam, they are not expecting you to be very much well versed with hands-on and implementation of these solutions. Okay, so today we are going to start with Azure Compute Services. So initially we are going to focus on Azure Core Services, and the subpart of that will be Azure Compute Services and Azure Database and Analytics. After that, we will focus on Azure Core Solutions. By solutions, we will focus on two technologies, which is AI and IoT. So we will focus on how Microsoft Azure gives us the platform to implement AI and IoT solutions. After that, we will focus on Azure management tools, and these are the management tools with which we can actually manage our Azure environment, and how we can actually improve the health, how we can actually check that if our resources are being utilized properly or not. Okay, so this is all about what we are going to do in this session for the next 1 hour. So yes, we can start now. So first of all, I will start with Azure Compute Services. So I have created a very small PPT because it is important for me to explain these basic concepts. So after I will explain this concept, I will also go to this Azure portal where I will quickly tell you that how we can actually create that resource, or what options are there to do it. Okay, so first we will start with Azure Compute Services. So basically, Azure Compute is an on-demand computing service. When I say on-demand, it actually means that when we actually have to create that, when we actually want to use that service, we will create that. So it is an on-demand, which means that I think I think in last class, Shitesh told you about pay as you go. Uh, pay as you go information, which is a very important thing when we are focusing on demand. So when we are focusing on Azure Compute Services, there are three important services that are given by Microsoft Azure. These are Azure App Service, Azure Container Instances, and Azure Functions. So one by one, I will focus on all these three concepts, and after that I will tell you that how we can actually do that using Azure portal. Okay, so the first of all, Azure App Service. So for example, if you are going to create a website, or if you are going to create a mobile app, Azure provides us a platform to host that using Azure App Service. So basically, if I say in very basic terms, Azure App Service, we can create and we can build, deploy, and scale our enterprise grade web, mobile, and API apps. And it is a platform as a service environment, because this gives us a platform to host our applications on Azure using Azure App Service. Now, when I say app service, so what are the different kinds of app that we can publish or we can deploy using Azure App Service? So you can see that we have web apps, we have API apps, we have web jobs, and we have mobile apps. So when I say web apps, it's very simple, like a simple web application. Maybe you know about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These are all front end technologies, and for the backend you can use MySQL, Java, or something like that. So these kind of applications can be deployed using Azure App Service. When I say API apps, API is an application. API means application interface, where application interface means that there is a inbuilt software which we are using REST based web API. So when I say API, it means that we are using a resource which is already uh, publicly there in the market, and we want to use that into our website. So we can also use Azure App Service to do that. Along with that, we can also use the concept of web job. So when I say web jobs, it is basically used to create a script where we are going to use the concept of web jobs, because we want to run background task. Okay, and now the fourth option is a very simple option we all have seen. We can create Android apps, we can create iOS apps, and we can use that, and we can use Azure App Service to deploy those. Now this slide, I'm going to uh, quickly tell you that what are the important points, and what is the importance of using Azure App Service. So if you can see, the important point that I want to discuss here is that endpoints can be secured. Point number two. Here it actually means that endpoints are actually the very vulnerable points with which attacks can happen. By attacks, I mean cyber attacks. So if we are using Azure App Service, it is actually making the endpoints secure, which can actually help our whole application, be it web app, be it mobile app, to be secured. Along with it, if you see the third and fourth points, it is focusing on load balancing capabilities. So when I say load balancing capabilities, for example, it is a I have my website hosted on Azure App Service, and during the festive season, I can actually see that there is a lot of traffic. Traffic means there is a lot of users who are coming to my website to buy my products. So what happens is that I have to manage that load in such a way that the maximum amount of users can actually use that website. So Azure App Service provide us that service where we can actually balance our load, and we can actually distribute our load by in by different servers. So Azure App Service gives us a inbuilt feature where we can balance our load. Now that we have discussed about Azure App Service, I want to quickly go to this Azure portal. I hope you have seen this portal in yesterday's session as well. So I want to quickly tell you that how we can actually see there is a name App Services. So when I go to this App Services, yes. So I have already worked using Microsoft Azure portal. So you can see that I have already created. But if I create this, I can quickly tell you that what are the options. I'm not going to dig deep into how you can create, how you can manage, because specifically for this exam, it is important for you to know the basic concepts and not the implementation, because there are a lot of concepts that I need to discuss in this session. So I will not dig deep into the implementation part. So quickly, I'm going to tell you that of what are the options that are here and how you can create a web app using Azure App Service. So for example, you have created a web app, okay, on your local system, and now you want to host it using Azure App Service. So what you have to do is that you have to name this web app whatever name you want to give, okay, and you want to publish it. So in what manner you want to publish it? Do you want to publish it as a code or as a Docker container? If you don't know about Docker container, we will discuss this in after for the slides. So as of now, I want to publish that as a code. Okay, now they are so let me just tell you an example with which I have created this. Let me go to home and let me tell you this. See this. I have created this website few months ago. I have also edited it today. So the name of this web app is Finding a Purpose, and it is using app service. So let me go to this. It is not working as of now, but let me tell you that how it actually feels like here. Yes. So this is the website, and it is showing the URL. So if you see the URL, you can see https findingapurpose.azurewebsites.net. So it is the URL with which you can actually access my web application. So I have created that application in my local host, and I have just attached that using this app service. So it is a very simple. I've just showed you the basic approach that how you can actually do that. Okay. So after this Azure App Service, now we are going to focus on Azure Container Instances. Okay. So before going into this, I want to discuss very quickly that what is the basic concept of containers. Okay. So containers are container is actually a software in itself, but the basic concept of container is the fact that it do not use it. For example, okay, let me tell you with the help of a very basic example. Suppose I have a web application. It is a software in itself, that application. Okay, now I want to split that application into different parts, into different portions. Okay, and I want each and every portion of that website handled and maintained in a different container. So this is how the container will be used. So container is nothing but a software where different containers means different parts of the web application will be using the same operating system. When yesterday Shatish told you about VM, virtual machine. So when we compare virtual machine and container, the basic difference is that container uses the same operating system, and it is quite lightweight. So when we are loading the container into different environments, it is very fast and it is quite reliable. So it helps in faster deployment of the web application. So I hope you know the basic, very basic meaning of containers. It is just a software where we have divided our web application into different portions, and we have stored we have a we have a container for each different portion of that website, and each container is isolated with each other. So for example, if one part of the website which is in a container is not working, so it will not affect the other container. Okay. So okay, so I am seeing your comments. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can write in the comment section. From time to time, I will be seeing that comments, and I will answer those. Okay, so I hope you know the basic concept that what actually is a container. Now, when I talk about Azure container instances, so Azure, Microsoft Azure gives us a platform where we can actually use the concept of containers. So it is a platform as a service. Again, it is a platform as a service offering where we can actually use the concept of containers, which means that we can actually split our web application or anything. I'm just taking an example of web application. So we can easily use the concept of containers where each functionality of that application will be stored in different containers and everything will be isolated from each other. So what is the benefit of that? The basic benefit is that it will be faster, and it will not load the whole operating system again, because all containers are using the same operating system, they are sharing the same operating system. So so they will not be using they will not be it will not load the operating system again and again, so it will be faster. And along with that, when I say fast, it means faster deployment. And along with that, the basic concept of container also means that if I want that container for different working environments, so I can also use, for example, if I am not using container, and if my working environment means, the for example, the operating system that I am using, Windows or Linux, so if that changes, I have to reload everything, and I have to start from scratch. But when I use containers, these work for different working environments as well. So this is the basic concept of Azure containers. I hope you know. I hope you get what is actually a container, and if you know if you get the meaning of container, Microsoft Azure gives us a platform to actually implement that concept. Okay. Now, the third offering of Microsoft Azure, when we are talking about Microsoft Compute Services, please note that right now, we are talking about Microsoft Compute Services. So, when we are talking about Azure functions, first of all, I want to tell you about what is actually a serverless computing, because Azure function is a implementation of serverless computing. So serverless computing is a very simple concept where my if I am a user, my whole focus will be that my code is running on demand. My focus will not be on infrastructure, or my focus will not be on managing the server. All those things will be managed by Microsoft Azure. All these things will be managed. My main focus, when I am using a serverless computing concept, the whole focus of the user will be to run the code when it is required. So this is the basic concept of serverless computing. The scaling, the performance of the website, this is not my concern. The concern will be that my code is running on demand. All infrastructure needs, everything will be covered by Microsoft Azure when I'm using the concept of serverless computing. Now, when I say about Azure function, Azure function is an implementation of serverless computing where it will actually work when I am using an API. If I am taking an example of an application interface, there is an request, and Azure function will act as the output of that request, response to that request. So this is the basic meaning of Azure function. When I talk about important concept of Azure Functions, first of all, I want to tell you that if the demand is variable, when I say demand is variable, for example, I have an e-commerce website and I don't know when the traffic will increase, when the traffic will decrease, because it is not dependent on any festivals or anything like that. I have a very different kind of web application, and I do not know then when the load will be higher on my website. So using of Azure Functions in that scenario is very important, because Azure Functions focuses on scaling the application automatically. For example, if the load is suddenly too much on the web application, then the Azure function will focus on scaling it automatically. That is not my concern. It will scale automatically. The another thing that Azure function that I want to talk about Azure function is that Azure function, there are two types of Azure functions, either stateful or stateless. When I say about stateless, so when there is a different when there is a API request, then Azure function will restart every time. But when we are using stateful manner of Azure function, the Azure function will not reload every time, and it will take the instance of the previous time that we have used. So I will so I don't so I think that I should quickly tell you that how we can actually implement Azure, the concept of Azure functions using Azure portal. So you can see there is an offering called function app. So this function app will help me to create a Azure function and will help me to create a server will help me to implement serverless computing. So when I click on create, yes. So if you can see here, create a function app which lets you group function as a logical unit. Okay, and functions let you execute your code in a serverless environment. So this shows that Azure Functions actually follows the concept of serverless computing. Okay, so the same thing, we have to name the function app, we have to publish it as a code or as a Docker container. I hope you know that what I'm talking about container. So so if I click Docker container here, it will actually mean that I am actually uh, I'm actually publishing just a part of that website, just a container, not the whole website. It will mean that. Okay, so I hope that you know that you get to know about Azure functions, and you. So with this, we end the concept of Azure Compute Services. Now, after this, let me just skip this for a second, and I'm going to talk about an important concept, which is very important, specifically for AZ 900 fundamentals exam. Okay, so now we are going to focus on now we are going to focus on Azure core solution. When I say solution, I am going to focus on artificial intelligence solution. For example, how Microsoft Azure gives us an opportunity to create solutions related to AI. So I hope you all know about what is an AI. Can you all those who are listening, can you please tell me in the comment section fast that what according to you is AI? Since it is a very popular term, I just want to know that what according to you is artificial intelligence. So I can quickly go further and tell you that how Microsoft Azure help us to implement AI solutions.
Are we are not asking just a full form. We are asking that what is AI? Human intelligence process in a machine. Exactly.
I'm asking very short. Just tell me very quickly what do you understand by AI?
Simulation of human intelligence processes by machine. Yes. Human
Okay.
intelligence using machine
Okay,
learning.
okay, okay. Good. You all are. very much in right direction. Okay, so let me quickly tell you that how Microsoft Azure help us to implement AI solutions. So right now we will be focusing on Azure machine learning, Azure bot service, and Azure cognitive services. Okay, so first of all, we will focus on Azure machine learning. So when I say machine learning, it is actually a platform to make predictions. So let me just skip all what is there in this slide, and let me just quickly tell you with a very basic example at how machine learning can be implemented. So I just want to know that you all have used Amazon to order something. Okay, so for example, I am adding shaving cream in my cart. I am adding shaving cream in my cart and I want to buy it. Okay, so when I go to checkout, when I go to when I go for the payment options and when I add in my cart, you will see that there are options like other users have also bought this with shaving cream, or similar items like shaving cream. So for example, if I am adding shaving cream in my cart, so you will see options like other users have bought shaving brush, or others users have bought blade. So why it is happening, how it is actually designed in such a way that how it is making predictions that what can actually be bought along with shaving cream. So this concept, like it is actually telling the user that this is the product which is bought you along with shaving cream or shaving brush. So this concept so this concept is implemented using machine learning. So so I hope you got the basic meaning of machine learning and how it is actually working. If you got to know, it's good. Okay, so in the slide it is written that machine learning actually help us to obtain data, and we have to train that machine in such a way that it has to respond to that data, that it want to respond in such a way that if that data is missing, how will it react. So we have to take our own data set. We have to train our own data, and we have to train in such a way that it can predict that what will happen if this happens. So we have to train that data, and this is how machine learning works. I hope that the basic example of Amazon or Flipkart, if I am adding something in the cart and it will show you that similar products, and it will show you that users also bought this with this. So these are all the concept of machine learning. Okay, so now we will go to Azure cognitive services. This is the most used services which is provided by Microsoft Azure. It is, you have seen it everywhere, and when I will give you the example, you will know, oh yes, it is here. Okay, so when I say cognitive services, it is actually giving you a pre-built machine learning models. In the previous slide, when I was talking about Azure machine learning, I was talking about training the data in myself. When I am talking about cognitive services, it is giving you pre-built machine learning models, and we have to use those models. So when I say in how many ways we can use Azure cognitive services. Okay, so when I say cognitive services, the very basic example, you have seen that there is an option of auto generated captions on YouTube, on anything else. So that is using the concept of Azure cognitive services. In the second point, you can see that speech services. So when I'm speaking, it is automatically converting my speech into English or Hindi or any language. So this is one of the example which is using using Azure Cognitive Services. Another important example that I want to give you is that, for example, I have created this web application, and my web application is in English. The whole content of the web application is in English. And after few months, I am the owner of that website, and I got to know that around 20 to 30% of the users of my website are not comfortable with English. They want French or Hindi or German as an option. So I can use Azure Cognitive Services to implement that, where the where the language English will be converted into a different language in real time. So so if you can see it, it is there written that Azure Cognitive Services translator service. So using this service, we can actually convert my language, which is there in the website, into a different language. Along with this, you should have seen a lot of like if you want to open your phone using your face, so it needs to recognize your face. So for that, we can use the vision services, which is there in the third point, that I want to use Azure Cognitive Services to actually recognize my face, and after my face is recognized, the phone will open. So these are the very basic and very important examples that you all have seen in real life. And I want to specifically mention that when you guys will be given this AZ-900 exam, a lot of questions are actually dependent on examples and situations. So it is important for you to know that how this concept is actually working in real time. So that is why I'm trying to give you as many examples which are there in front of you, so that you can actually imagine that how this service or how this solution is actually implemented in real time. Okay, so now I am going to go further with Azure bot service. And after I have explained this, I will also go to the Azure portal, as I have used Azure bot service, which I have created few 1 year ago. So I will quickly tell you that how that works. So first of all, I want to tell you that Azure bot service, it is a very basic and very important service uh, provided by Microsoft Azure. So you all have seen bots, you all have seen Telegram bots, or if you have ordered or if you have used Swiggy or Zomato, and if your order is being not late or is not delivered, you would have seen an option of bot virtual or virtual agents. So all these concepts or can be implemented using Azure bot service. So Azure Bot Service is actually a service for creating virtual agents, where we will train that bot in such a way so that it can answer real-time questions asked to it back to the human. So so I have to train using that data set. I have to train that bot that if I am asking this question, what will be the reply? So for example, I'm training the bot that if the user says hello to the bot, what will answer? So for each and every question, and for so we can actually train that bot in such a way so that it can answer. So I hope that you have used or you have seen virtual agents or bots in real time. Either you have seen in Zomato, Swiggy, or anywhere, or and you have used Telegram. So guys, please tell me that do you have used any bot or virtual agent as of now anywhere, be it on Telegram or Swiggy or Zomato or anywhere else, where it is a virtual agent with which you are asking questions and it is replying to you. Tell me on the comment section that you have used any kind of bot or not. Yes, Azure. Yes, we can deploy the bot on Telegram on. So I will show you that how can it can happen. After this slide, I will go to Azure portal and tell you that what are the options where you can deploy. Yes, we can deploy it using uh, Telegram, WhatsApp business bot, Discord bot, YouTube chat. Yes, 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 yes. Alexa, yes. Yes, okay, good. So I am seeing that you guys have already used bots. Okay, so few 1 year ago, I actually created a bot named as 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗵. You can see on this page 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗵. So this bot I created specifically to answer questions related to geography. For example, if I want to ask what is the capital of India, or what is the uh, capital of Germany, and if I also want to ask which is the nearest river to Noida or anything like that. So these are the questions that it was answering. It is not working as of now because my resources are used. I have already used the monthly resources that I got. So I won't be able to actually show you that how it is working. But yes, I can actually show you that what are the different options that you can deploy. So this is, you can see GeoHelp bot, and I can actually show you that this where you can, yes. So there is an option of channel. You can see on the left hand side channel. So if, for example, if I have created that bot and if I want to publish it, so what are the options in Microsoft Azure using which you can deploy that? So yes, you can see I have uh, deployed that on Telegram. It is not working, so I cannot open it as of now. But yes, I had deployed it on Telegram. What are the options? Yes, you can see Alexa, Facebook, Cake, Line, Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Skype, Slack. So these are the main channels with which you can actually publish your bot for real time usage. Okay, and one more thing that I want to show you, that I also use the concept of Q&A maker. You can see Q&A maker. So this the basic concept of Q&A maker, it is actually used with the concept of Azure bot. So Q&A maker is nothing, but it is something like that I am creating the questions and I am training that bot that how will you answer those questions. So for example, if I am writing the question, what is the capital of Delhi? So there is a data set, there is an Excel sheet that I used, and there is a data set, and whenever, so I use the keyword Delhi and the capital. So it was reading those two main keywords and it was answering on the basis of that. So this is the basic concept of Q&A maker. I hope I made myself clear that what is bot and basic that. Okay, so you can always go to you can always go to the web, and if you want to create a bot, it is very simple. It will take hardly 2-3 days. And if you want to use C# as a language for backend, it will take 1 or 2 weeks. But if you want to simply make a very simple, very basic bot, hello, how are you, these kind of bots, then it can be easily created within 1 day. So you can so I will be not going very deep into this concept as we have different solutions left. Okay, so these three things that I discussed are Azure AI services, where Azure are given the services related to AI. Okay, now we are focusing on, okay, one more thing is left. When I am talking about AZ-900 exam, about 50% of the questions will be on the basis of situations, where it will give you a situation and it will tell you that what service can be used. So these are the questions that these type of questions are very much given in this exam. So I have created a very simple example of decision making, that if you want to make a decision, that what service will you use if the scenario is this. So I want you to please focus on this slide and read all these five scenarios. First is that do you need a service that can understand the content and the meaning of images, video, audio. So as I told you, Azure cognitive services can be used if I want to know if I want to talk about if I want to change my speed to text or something like that. The another scenario is, do you want to predict user behavior? So when I say predict, always remember that the keyword predict is always equivalent to machine learning in AI. So when I want to predict something, okay, I think this is incorrect. It should have been Azure machine learning. The second scenario, the answer should be Azure machine learning, not Azure cognitive service, because we want to predict something. Okay, so when I go to fifth option, is this exam MCQ based? Yes, Mansi, this is the fundamental exam. So yes, the questions will be MCQs. Okay, so yes, so focus on the fourth scenario. Are you building a virtual agent that interfaces with humans via natural language? So as we discussed, we will use Azure bot service. Okay, so now we will move further, and now like we discussed about AI, here we are going to discuss about IoT, that how Microsoft Azure gives us solutions related to IoT technology. So IoT, I hope you know the very basic concept of IoT. If you don't know, I will explain it. IoT is a very basic concept where we are actually connecting, or we are actually enabling any physical hardware device with the internet, and we want to manage it in that way. For example, if I have a air condition at my home, and if I want to connect it to my mobile phone or something like that, so I will use the concept of IoT, where I will connect it using internet, and I can actually manage that using a device. Okay, so if I say about IoT, if I say the basic very simple definition of IoT, IoT enables devices to gather and relay information for data analysis. So when I am connecting any hardware device with the internet, I can actually talk to that device via internet. So you have seen a lot of ads about Amazon Alexa. So this is a living example of IoT. Along with that, if I have a television, if I everything can be converted into an IoT device, be it was initially structured that way or not. If for example, if I have a geyser at home, and if I want to connect that to IoT, that if that water tap is not open after 5 minutes of opening the geyser button, it will switch off automatically. So these are the basic concepts that IoT. This is a basic concept of IoT. Okay, so now we are going to focus on how Microsoft Azure gives us this feature of how Microsoft Azure help us to implement solutions regarding IoT. So we will focus on IoT Hub, IoT Central, and Azure Sphere. So one by one, I will be focusing on this. So when I say about IoT Hub, IoT Azure IoT Hub is a feature which is a service provided by Microsoft Azure, with which we can talk to that IoT device, and that IoT device can actually talk to us via internet. So for example, if I want to talk to if the device want to talk to the cloud, when I say talk to me, it will talk to the cloud, because IoT Hub is there using Microsoft Azure, so it will talk to the cloud. So for example, if uh, if I want to check that what is the current temperature in room using a sensor, okay, so it will actually respond to my query using internet. So it means that that IoT device is talking to me using internet. Same way, if I want to talk to that IoT device, so for example, if I want to charge that, if for example the sensor is not working, and if I want to talk to that IoT device that it will not function for the next 7 to 10 days, so it will work like that. So IoT Hub is so Azure IoT Hub is a very simple service provided by Azure, where we are going to integrate cloud with via internet to that IoT device. Okay. Now the concept that we are focusing on is Azure IoT Central. So Azure IoT Central is is a solution which which is actually built on top of IoT Hub. So for example, if I want a user interface with which I want to talk to my IoT device. So for that I have to use IoT Central. So when I have to talk to the IoT device using a dashboard or using an interface, when that interface is very much required by the user to talk to that IoT device, we will use this concept of IoT Central. And one more thing it is important to note is that IoT Central is a software as a service, because it is giving us a software with which we can talk to that IoT device. So it is a software as a service, not a platform as a service. It is important to note, and it makes it very easy to connect, monitor, and manage IoT devices. Okay, so IoT Central is important when we are going to use a user interface to talk to that IoT device. Okay, now we will go to Azure Sphere, which is the third solution provided by Microsoft Azure when it comes to IoT. So Azure Sphere is basically a very important service, and it is specifically used when I as a user want to ensure that my IoT device is very much secured. I don't want that IoT device to be compromised. But the basic disadvantage of Azure Sphere is that it is quite costly. So it is important for the user or me to understand. So for example, if I have used AC and I have converted my AC into an IoT device. So I don't think I need to have a very important security feature for my AC. I don't think that it requires a strong security. Okay, so when it is like that, I will not use Azure Sphere. It is important to note that Azure Sphere should be specifically used when you want that IoT, when you want that device to not be compromised or not be hacked. For example, if I have a company and I have a small ATM machine. Yes. Okay, okay. Let me. Okay, so I after finishing this, I will come back to your questions. Okay, so when I am talking about Azure Sphere, it is important for me to know that when I want that IoT device to be secured, I will use it. There are three parts of Azure Sphere. The first part will be MCU, microcontroller unit, which is important for which is important for giving the signals which is important for responding to the servers sensors. So for example, if that sensor is responding in such a way, so the MCU will come into part and it will respond to it. So the main focus of MCU will be the processing of operating system and signals from attached sensors. The another part of Azure Sphere will be Linux operating system. So it is important to note that Azure Sphere specifically use Linux. It will not use any other operating system. Another third point will be that Azure, yes. So when I was talking about security in Azure Sphere, so the third part will be Azure Sphere Security Service. So the main focus of this part is to make sure that the device is not hacked. Okay. So these are the things, when these are the basic concepts of Azure IoT services: Azure IoT Hub, Azure IoT Central, and Azure Sphere. Now, when yes, so the question is, uh, as a student, is it a good practice not to code? No. As a student, is it a good practice not to code that much instead of using tools to make chatbot? Okay, so it depends on your requirements. If your chatbot is the main feature of your application, then it is important for you to, if it is important for, if you are talking about as a student, it is always recommended to implement it via coding or via a long process, because you are in a learning phase. So it is important for you to take some time of 1 or 2 weeks, learn the language. You can use either ASP.NET, or you can use C#. So it is, as a student, if you are asking me, as a student, it is very much important for you to develop anything, be it chatbot, be it anything, via code, because you are learning. When I say from business business point of view, it actually depends on your requirements. So if that chatbot is the main feature of your application, then it is not required to you to give so much time to it. But if the chatbot is not, so sorry, if the chatbot is not the main feature of your application, then you can actually use tools to create the chatbot in a faster manner. But if the whole application is based on chatbot, then it is recommended to use coding, or it is recommended to train that data in such a way so that it is working properly. Okay, so now we are done with Azure IoT solutions, and before that we focus on Azure AI solution. Now I'm quickly going to tell you the tools with which you can manage the Azure environment. So now we are going to focus on management tools. Management tools is the thing with which we can actually manage my Azure environment. Okay, so the first thing is Azure portal. You have seen this is the Azure portal. This is the very first option that any beginner will use to use Microsoft Azure. So the Azure portal is one of the options with which you can manage your Azure environment. And and you can also see that Azure portal gives you a very structured user interface. You can see there is a dashboard here. There is a everything in a very user interface manner. So it is very important for a beginner to always start from Azure portal, because it will help him to understand that how these things are actually working. The second tool, management tool with which you can manage your Azure environment, is Azure mobile app. Yes, there is an app which is provided by Microsoft Azure. But the main thing that I want to tell you, that you should not use mobile app very frequently. It should only be used in emergency cases, where you don't have your laptop with you, or you don't have your proper resources. So for that you will use Azure mobile app. Okay, so using Azure mobile app, everything can be done, but it is not recommended, because you will not gain because it will be quite difficult for you to run commands using mobile app. Okay, so the third management tool that we are focusing on is Azure PowerShell. So that if you see the third and fourth tools, Azure PowerShell, and Azure CLI. Azure CLI means command line interface. So both these, Azure PowerShell and Azure CLI, are very much similar in nature. The only difference between these two is that Azure CLI, the syntax of commands that we will be writing using Azure CLI will be quite different. It will be executed in Bash, And when we are using Azure PowerShell, it is a very the syntax of the commands will be different. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some scenarios that in what scenario you will use which tool. So the first one is, do you need a tool that can help you gain more insights into how Azure resources are being used? Ideally, you would be able to see the data displayed visually, but also be able to run custom reports in real time. So after seeing this scenario, it is quite visible that I want to use Microsoft Azure in a user interface manner, and I want to run the reports and all these things. So very clearly, I will use Azure portal. The second scenario is, do you need to perform one of management administrative or reporting actions? So when I say reporting actions and one of management, when you see these terms, it actually means that I want to run a command to execute something. So if I want to run a command, I can either use Azure PowerShell or Azure CLI. The third is, are you out of town and can't access any computer, laptop, and want to run some commands on Azure CLI? So very basically, if you can't access your laptop, you can use Azure mobile app. The fourth is when you are scripting and you come from Linux administration background. Okay, so when you see Linux administration background, it says Azure CLI because the commands which are used in Azure CLI are very much similar to what people use in Linux. So that is why we will be using Azure CLI if the user is familiar with Linux. The fifth option is when you are scripting and you come from Windows administration background. Okay, so when I say Windows administration background, the commands which are used in Azure PowerShell are not very similar to which are used in Linux. They are similar to use in Windows, like we use command prompt. So the commands are similar, but the syntax is quite different. So we will use Azure PowerShell there. So I am going to cover the last topic of uh, today's session here, which is Azure monitoring services, which is that I want to monitor the resources or the solutions that I am implementing. So it is a very important concept, but it's not given much weightage by users, but it should be given weightage because you want to manage your resources in the best way possible. So it is important for you to monitor your resources in such a way that that it is important for you to monitor your resources so that your resources are properly used. And if there are any issues, if there are any if you want to optimize your usage, or if you want to plan about future downtime, it is important to use Azure monitoring services. So there are some questions there. If you can see in the slide, there are a few questions. So if any user or if any organization is worried about these questions, they can easily use Azure monitoring services. So what are these questions? Are we using the cloud correctly? Can we squeeze more performance out of our cloud spend? So when we are using cloud, we want to use our resources with the maximum efficiency. So it is important to use Azure monitoring services to make sure that you are using your resources efficiently. Are we spending more than we used to? Do we have our systems properly secured? How resilient are our resources? If we experience a regional outage, can we fail over to another region? How can we diagnose and fix issues that occur intermittently? How can we quickly determine the cause of an outage, and how can we learn about planned downtime? So these are the okay. The question is, what is the difference between Azure Monitor and Advisor? Okay, so yes, uh, Himik, I will be talking about both of these things in the coming slides. So yes, I will explain you that there is not a very much very huge difference between these two, but yes, there is a very minor difference which I will be talking about. So the first service, which is Azure Advisor. So Azure Advisor is basically used if you want to improve your security and performance. Okay, and if you when I say improve performance, I also want to reduce my cost. No organization or no person want to give more money for using the same amount of cloud. They want to maximize their efficiency. So Azure Advisor focuses on that concept, that I want to improve my security performance and I want to reduce my cost. So the main feature that it is focusing on is reliability, security, performance, cost, and operational excellence. When I say operational excellence, I want to make sure that what all resources that we are actually running as of now, it is implementing with maximum efficiency, and all those resources are uh, deployed using best practices. So we want to use best practices, we want to reduce our costs. So all these things will be helped by Azure Advisor. The second concept is Azure Monitor. So yes, so coming to your question, Himik, when you ask me that what is the difference between Azure Advisor and Azure Monitor, Azure Monitor is not actually focusing on improving the efficiency or reducing the cost. It is actually monitoring. It is actually analyzing the already running resources, and it want to make sure that you are using the right resources. Okay, so when I say Azure Monitor, it will be focusing on collecting, analyzing, and potentially taking action based on metric and login data. So this is a type of data. So I want to explain it in a very simpler manner. So when you see this diagram here, you can see that on the left hand side you can see operating system, Azure tenant, Azure resources. So these are all are the sources of data, that from where the data will come. Now what happens with Azure Monitor is Azure Monitor makes sure that this data is stored efficiently, and after this data is stored efficiently, it will analyze that data and it will respond to the failures. So when I say respond to the failures, for example, if a resource is not working, it has stopped. So it is important for Azure Monitor to report it to the user that this service or this request is not working and you have to rectify it. So this is the basic difference between Azure Advisor. Azure Advisor will advise the user that how you can actually improve your security performance and reduce cost. And Azure Monitor will act upon it, will take action and will actually do it in real time. So I hope, Himik, I answered your question. The third and the final offering is Azure Service Health. So when I say Azure Service Health will actually focus on the health of your Azure services. When I say health, it is not like when I say about human health, you have to make sure that all the organs and everything is working properly inside the body. Similarly, when I say about Azure, when I am running a website, it is important for Azure Service Health to make sure that all the resources or all the services that I am working on is of 100% efficiency. 100%, it is not ideally 100%. When I mean 100%, it means that to their potential it is working to their maximum efficiency. So this is the main concept of Azure Service Health. And Azure Service Health will keep an eye on several event types, which is service issues and health advisors. Okay, so it will talk about It will talk about breaking changes. It will talk about any service interruption. If there is any interruption between multiple services. So this is a concept of Azure monitoring services where we are focusing on Azure Advisor, Azure Monitor, and Azure Service Health. So, and again, the last slide of today's session where we will be again focusing on scenarios. Again, I'm telling you from exam point of view, it is very important for you to understand the examples, real-time examples, that how this is actually working in a real time. Okay. So the four scenarios are given. Do you need to analyze how you are using Azure to reduce cost and harden your security? So it will advise you. So Azure Advisor. Do you want to monitor Azure services or your usage of Azure? When I say usage of Azure, when I talk about Azure Service Health, I talk to you that it is important to ensure that it is working with maximum efficiency. So when I talk about usage of Azure, it will use Azure Service Health. Do you want to measure custom events along with other usage matrices? So yes, it will use Azure Monitor. Do you need to set up alerts for outages or when auto scaling is about to deploy new instances? So when I say about alerts, I told you that Azure Monitor will act upon the issues. So it is given an alert. So we will use Azure Monitor. So it is important for you to understand that how it is working in real time. So these are the three services provided by Azure Monitoring. So I hope that all the concepts that I told you. First of all, we talked about Azure services. Then we talk about solutions, that how AI and IoT solutions are provided by Microsoft Azure. Then we talked about tools, that how our environment can be managed. Okay, then we talk about monitoring, that how what we are using can be monitored. So these are the four topics, broad topics that we focus on, and I hope that you get an basic idea that how these things are working. So if I am done with the section, Sarthak, I'm done with the section. If you have any doubts, you can ping that in the comment section.
Great. It was a
Yes,
wonderful session, Divyansh. Thank you for this, first of all. And Divyansh, students are asking for
yes,
the PPT. It would be great if you
yes,
can
yes,
share the
yes,
PPT after
yes,
this
yes, yes.
session.
Okay, sure. After this session, I will share this PPT with Sarthak, and he will share that
Okay.
in your WhatsApp groups.
Tomorrow we have a data scientist with us. Okay. Tomorrow we have Neha with us, who recently cleared his uh, Azure data science exams. Okay. So let's see how what we can do the best for this. Okay.
Okay, Mansi is
Eligibility.
asking
Huh, huh.
Sarthak, Mansi is asking one thing, that is IoT Hub software as a service. Okay. Yes. When I say about IoT Hub, yes, it is a software as a service. Because when I say about platform as a service, one second, let me think once again. Okay. Okay, so yes, I think that IoT Hub is a software as a service because it is providing us with an option to connect our IoT device via internet. So yes, I think that IoT Hub is a software as a service. I have to check that again. I may be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, maybe.
Okay, eligibility criteria. You need to attend all the 3 day session. If you have not attended, watch the video, fill the feedback form shared by us. Okay, tomorrow we will end this series of Azure Fundamentals, matlab AZ-900 exams. So we'll see that how many of you will get this and how many participants will get tomorrow. Okay, guys, do attend the session tomorrow because tomorrow is the most important session. We will talk about the core of this exam, how we are going to do this. Second announcement, and the most all the certificate, those who will get the certificate from our side will be eligible for the, for giving 48 exam. Out of 48 exam, you can choose any exam of Microsoft and you can give that. Okay. uh, Prepare, at least try to revise the concept which we have taught you in last 2 days. Okay. Then come, okay, it will help you to boost your confidence as well as to grab the certification vouchers. Third and the last thing which I want to share with you is, ki guys, we are coming up with more events like this. We need your support. Do like and share these types of initiatives. We love to see your, your your comments, and we love to see your feedback over the LinkedIn as well. You can tag Devansh, you can tag me, and Devansh, it would be great if you can share your LinkedIn handle in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay, one
Okay.
second. Okay.
Okay. Any other doubt? If when is the exam? You can schedule it according to your wish. Okay, it's not a big deal, Anjali. Okay, can we retake the exam? It's a exam voucher for a single uh, time only. You can use it for single time only. Is there any programming involving cloud engineering? Not as such, but if you have basic programming knowledge, then it would be easy for you to solve the bigger challenges. Always we are there to support you. Thank you, Kilpati. When will be the exam? You can schedule according to your wish. We'll give the voucher. Okay, there will be voucher limit. Okay, for 4 to 5 months, and you can schedule according to your uh, of the certain. Thank you, Shaja. So,
Thank you so much, everyone.
okay,
There is one question that I want to answer. Himek
okay,
asked,
okay, okay.
Satak, that's just last question. Himek asked that
Hmm.
what kind and types of data is collected by Azure Monitor. So Himek, when we are using Microsoft Azure and we have a data set, okay. So for example, I will take an example of Azure bot. So for example, I have that data set and I am actually using that data to train my bot. So what kind of data that we are providing, it will take that data. Azure Monitor, the focus of Azure Monitor is to take the data that we are giving, that we are using that we are using to maintain and that we are using to uh, use that service. So all kind of data, be it login data. When I mean login data, it means that all the logs. I want to check that how many users, for example, I have publish that bot on the Microsoft Teams app. And I want to check, and so there will be a data of login. It means that how many users are actually using in per day. So that will be the login data. So that login data will actually tell me that if any user faced issues between using that bot. So these are the different kind of data, and along with that, the data set that I used, that will be also monitored using Azure Monitor. Okay,
Okay,
yes.
so this is the end of this session. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll meet you tomorrow. Let's be ready for this tomorrow's session. Okay, so thanks Devansh, thanks team for such a great workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Satak.